Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Well, before I get into this topic, I have a little announcement. Yes, my stupid self has decided to make a live this Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern without realizing that it's Super Bowl Sunday. So I will still do this live because a promise is a promise, but I will do another live later on this month. Okay, with that out of the way, I think we're all ready for some hope in this industry, right? Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I teach about the trucking industry with a heavy focus on the spot market and freight market analysis. So if this is a topic that interests you, feel free to subscribe down below. Well, unsurprisingly, February is even more grueling than I had initially predicted. The rates are giving me a migraine and the brokers, well, let's just say that I have a special folder in my inbox called Jerk Brokers. Am I petty? Maybe, but you know what? The few brokers that are in that folder worked really hard to earn their place there. Now, even though for most of us the market is hellish right now, I have read some really encouraging news that I want to share with you guys. Ready? Let's go! So up to now, I have been talking about how the market will probably get better come around March or April when the produce season starts coming alive, and I still believe this to be true. And why is this important for all equipment types? Well, because historically speaking, as reefers start focusing on moving that fresh produce and dry vans start focusing on moving dry consumables, there starts to be a shortage of trucks that are willing to transport other goods. So shippers who are not in the produce industry or produce business start hiking up their rates to entice carriers to transport their stuff as well. Now, this is speaking historically, and while I do believe that there will be a positive change in the market come produce season, I don't know by how much, because that depends on what kind of capacity there is in the market. How many trucks are there available to transport all the different goods? Again, supply and demand. Now, in the past few days, I have been coming across article after article where brokers and carriers alike believe that there is going to be a rebound in the trucking market in the second half of 2023. And I will attach those articles for you to read down below. For example, according to Yahoo Finance, Drew Wilkerson, who is the CEO of RXO, which is related to XPO, said, and I quote, "Customers who were previously talking about destocking their inventories over the last 6 to 9 months have begun switching to restocking, a hint that logistics could be the first to witness a turnaround." Now, as a reminder, inventory levels is something that we in the trucking industry should pay close attention to, because when inventories are bloated like they were in 2022, paired with the fact that consumers were not willing to buy because they were too scared to spend their money, businesses, including retailers, wholesalers, manufacturers, are too scared to place new orders for new inventory out of the fear that it won't move. And that means that we, the people with the trucks, will not have as much to move across the board, because inventories, the inventory supply chain progresses from raw materials to goods in the making to finished goods before they are actually sold at the wholesale or retail level. And we're the ones responsible for moving all that goodness across the board. So again, when inventory levels are bloated and no one is ordering anything, we have less to move, aka there is not much demand for trucks. Now, what Wilkerson is saying is that he's starting to notice that his customers are looking to restock their inventories, meaning they will be ordering more stuff. And that means that we will have something to move, aka more demand for trucks potentially. So obviously I started digging, and what I found was that on February 7th, there was a report published, the Logistics Managers Index report. What is the Logistics Managers Index, or LMI? Well, it's a tracking metric of the logistics activity within the US. So this is something that we should all be paying attention to. And this is the reason so many articles started coming out that there seems to be a positive change within our industry. Now, according to this LMI report, and I'm reading, both JB Hunt and Knight Swift are saying that inventories will start getting rebuilt sometime in Q2. Knight Swift said that their customer base had indicated a return to normal demand by spring. So let's go ahead to the board and I will help you visualize. So what I basically did was I looked at all LMI reports, Logistics Managers Index reports, which I will attach down below. And I combined all those numbers into one chart just to try to determine patterns, what is normal, what is abnormal, and try to understand what we can expect in the future. So this is what I came up with. Of course, these charts will also be attached down below. Now this is, and I know you can't see it, I do apologize, but you can download this. This is all the way from January, February of 2018, all the way through January of 2023. So this red line right here, this is the Logistics Managers Index. And if we look closely, we can see that it has been increasing over the past few months. Now, just so you guys know, the Logistics Managers Index, if it reads over 50, that means that the logistics is expanding. If it's under 50, then it's contracting. Now, just so you guys know, 50 is right here, right? So right all the way like this. So some of you, including myself, will say that this index has never been below 50, yet the market still is crap. So this is crap. Again, this is exactly what I thought as well, and that's why I decided to throw in a bunch of numbers here. So in yellow, this line right here, those are inventory levels. Then we have the blue line, which is the transportation utilization, meaning demand for trucks. Then we have green, transportation prices, our rates. And finally, the black line is the transportation capacity. How many trucks are there in the market? Now, I understand that this is a jumbled mess, so let's go through it step by step. So number one, basic laws of supply and demand. Again, green, transportation prices, load rates. Blue, transportation utilization, demand for trucks. And then black is transportation capacity, how many trucks, supply of trucks, how many trucks are there in the market. So what we can see right away is that when the demand, the blue, exceeds the capacity in the market, the prices start going up, right? This is true in 2018. This was true, of course, from somewhere in May 2020 until April of 2022. Now, this is all great, but let's focus on what is going on right now. Okay, again, just as a reminder, black is transportation capacity, blue is transportation utilization, and green is the transportation prices. So what we can see right away is that the capacity, meaning the amount of trucks in the market, is still, it increased in January a little bit. It decreased and then increased a little bit. But one of the things that the Logistics Managers Index report mentions is that the increase is slowing down, which is a really, really good sign. Now, looking at the demand for trucks actually went up. They had a really, really nice jump in January, and therefore they drove the prices up as well. So what this tells us is that supply and demand is a very big factor when determining load rates, but one of the things that are really important is what does the demand look like? It looks like when demand goes up for trucks, regardless of the capacity, so do rates. Then there are the inventory levels. Again, apologies if you cannot see this. I understand, that's why I'm making it available to download down below, but let's go through this. Inventory levels, finally, this is where we are right now. Here, just for you guys to see better. This is where we are right now. This is when there was a peak in inventory levels. What we can see, and this is something the LMI report mentions, is that finally inventory levels are in a normal range, right? So if we compare to the last 5 years, inventories are pretty normal. They're not really elevated. So what I'm hoping that means is that Knight-Swift, RXO, and JB Hunt are all correct when saying that their customers are looking to restock those inventories, giving us something to move. Now, I was a little bit worried about the fact that inventories did make a little jump in January. So that's why I made these pink red lines to see a pattern. And what I saw was that pretty much every single January, there is a jump in inventories, as you can see right here. And the reason most likely is after the holiday season, when the inventory moves at the end of the year. As you can see, very often there is some drops towards the end of the year, maybe not in 2018, but here we go, 2019, 20, there was a slight drop in 2021 and a huge drop in 2022. When that inventory moves, businesses are looking to restock. So it was really nice to see that this year is following the same pattern and remaining at normal levels. Finally, there's this chart which shows the transportation utilization, demand for trucks, versus the LMI, the Logistics Managers Index in red. And what you can see right away is that these two are heavily correlated. Why is this important? Because right now the LMI is increasing and so is the transportation utilization. And one of the things that the LMI report mentions is because this index, the red, has been increasing over the past 2 months, it is most likely a trend, not a fluke. So this gives me some hope that there is going to be an increased demand for transportation, thereby driving those rates up. So what does this whole thing tell us? Well, number one, we can see that there is still excess capacity in the market. There are way too many trucks. However, it seems like demand is not going to be coming only from produce in the coming months. While of course we cannot expect the load rates to go up to the levels they were in 2021 or beginning of 2022, after reading these articles and making these charts and really trying to analyze the data, I am inclined to agree that prices will start going up to more manageable levels in a few months, because that increased demand will soak up some of the capacity in the market. Now, of course, when I was looking at these charts, one question was standing out in my mind, and that was, what about consumer sentiment? Because retailers, wholesalers, manufacturers, they can continue restocking their inventories, but if no one is willing to buy and move that inventory, what's going to happen, right? So consumer sentiment and their outlook on the economic conditions is very, very important. So when I was researching this, I came across an article by Reuters. I think they're called Reuters. And I quote, "The University of Michigan's surveys of consumer benchmark consumer sentiment index rose nearly 9% to 64.9 in January, the highest since April 2022, from a final reading of 59.7 in December. Obviously, I will be digging in deeper into consumer sentiment or consumer confidence, what is driving it, what is surrounding it, but that is something for a different video. And of course, I'll share it with you guys. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for bearing with me and my crazy curiosity. I really hope that my obsession is giving you some valuable insights. I appreciate you guys. I wish you continued patience and persistence in the current market, and I will see you in the next video.